Well, Joseph, let's start obviously with the World Cup cricket. New Zealand's not really put a foot wrong, have they?
No, I mean, we were all very excited in 1992 when they went 7 wins in a row. We were all surprised and so on, but it's the same sort of feeling where they take the whole country with them and winning games easily, most of the games easily, and not even, I don't think they've bowled 50 overs yet.
I suppose that's the only downside, and it's no criticism. If you keep rolling teams over, you don't get a lot of batting practice, do you?
No, well, the thing is, except for the first game, they haven't batted first, so they haven't batted a full innings at all, which is a shame, because you'd like to see them try to structure an innings instead of just knowing they're chasing a low score and can do whatever they want, really.
That's the one thing not tested. We haven't tried to chase down a 300, for instance, and that would be a new experience for them.
Yeah, and a lot of teams are having to chase down 300 plus in this tournament, so it's going to come up at some stage. So yeah, that would be important. I feel that except for Williamson and McCullum, the batsmen are not really in great form, and I think it would be nice if some of them had batted longer instead of chasing 120 or 150, and you're never really going to have a long innings. So that has been a downside of winning so easily.
Talking about, I think, one of the best bowling mixes New Zealand's got in the tournament. We've got two guys striking early. We've got Milne and Vittori going for 4 runs and over and pitching in with wickets, and then matching the last 10 overs. It's a good balance, isn't it?
Well, I think Vittori's fantastic. I mean, he's the best spin bowler in the world in this form of cricket, and shock of shocks, he's also taking wickets. I mean, he was always economic, and he's really economic in this tournament, but he's up with the leading wicket takers in the tournament, so that's fantastic. And the two opening bowlers moving the ball around, one left arm, one right arm, swinging it different ways. Yeah, it's a great opening attack, followed by Vittori. So before you start, you've got 3 truly world-class bowlers.
As it stands at the moment, a possibility of a quarter against Ireland or somebody of that ilk, and then maybe Australia, South Africa might meet in another one. So the path is looking smooth, but we shouldn't take things for granted. No,
we should not take things for granted. We could lose to anybody. Chasing 150 against Australia, we nearly came unstuck. We chased 120 odd against Scotland, and we only won with 3 wickets to spare. We had Milne batting at the end. So no, get a team like Pakistan on a good day and they could surprise you. So I definitely wouldn't be taking anyone for granted.
It's amazing the different approach New Zealand and Australia had to that close game. I'm talking about the public. If Australia had got up and won that, it would have been, oh, they've got the typical true grit, etc. New Zealand win, we almost feel that we were luckier somehow, but it was a good bowling performance, and McCullum set up a victory with his 50. Yeah,
but I think we were lucky. I mean, we needed Bolt to face 2 balls from Stark, and he could have been out on either of them. I think we were lucky. I think it was a poor batting performance by us to get to the stage where we were 9 down. I mean, McCullum gave us a blinding start, and really they could have scored it 2 runs and over and won it from there. And there seemed to be some imperative to knock the runs off really quickly, to the point where wickets were being lost. I mean, that was good bowling by Stark, and I think they needed to respect that and play him out, like some of these teams play out Vittori, instead of trying to dominate him in a sort of a macho way. And we came unstuck. So I thought it was dumb cricket by New Zealand batting, and I know McCullum wasn't pleased with it.
I know we're a bit nervous about teams going through unbeaten. It hardly ever happens in a World Cup, but you hope that the roll continues, and I'm in favour of keeping the same combination. Are you?
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't be, except that the way the tournament's played out, I mean, New Zealand haven't had a hard game. I mean, they've won all their games in half or 2/3 of the allotted overs, so they haven't really been pushed at all. So it hasn't been a physically rigorous test. So if you've got bowlers not bowling their full complement and batsmen not having much of a bat or no bat at all, what are you resting them for then? If you rest them and there's a week off between games, that's a fortnight without playing, and all you're really doing is getting them out of form.
And it took a long time for, say, Milne to get 10 overs just because of the brevity of the games, and all that's important, isn't it? So those games against Afghanistan and Elliott getting, a bat, very valuable.
Yeah, and Ross Taylor too. Yes, in the end, all you'd be doing is resting players so that you could make the bench players feel better. I talked to Brian Lahore about this once with the All Blacks, and he said he used to watch Graham Henry come under huge pressure to give the bench players some game time, and Lahore said he often advised Henry against that, like the players we've got on the park are playing well, leave them on the park. And he said Henry often would just get someone on for 10 minutes just so there'd be a happier changing room afterwards.
not their total motivation for getting the result. Let's have a look at the other teams in the competition then. South Africa, very reliant on De Villiers, Amler perhaps, and one or two of the bowlers, but outside of them, they look frail from time to time.
Yeah, I think they've got a lot of good players. I mean, Amler and De Villiers are certainly in the top 4 or 5 best batsmen in the tournament, and they've got Steyn and Morkel, who are very good pace bowlers, but they've also got Philander to come back, and Abbott is a good pace bowler. Tahi is a good left-arm spinner, and they've got a guy in the middle order who can bat like Corey Anderson. So I think they've got a lot of strength. They've lost 2 games, which is amazing, but as you're saying, Tom, you don't have to win the tournament unbeaten. You only have to win the tournament. You've got to win the games that count.
In Australia, they still look strong. They've got a lot of power hitters throughout the order, and that helps them, and a handy bowling attack. Perhaps it's a little bit weak in the spin bowling department.
Well, unless you're bowling, they've got no spin really, no front line spin at all. So they are very weak there. I mean, I'm sure they'd be happy to have Nathan McCullum, who can't get in the New Zealand team. However, their batting looks truly formidable to me, and no one scores slowly. They're a brutal batting team, and they'll all be scoring at 100 plus runs per 100 balls. So if they bat their 50 overs and bat well, you're going to be chasing 300 plus.
Let's look at the tournament as a whole. It looks to be a great success. I know we're riding on the high of New Zealand as good performances, but even the so-called minnows are putting out some good games and some good opposition.
Yes, I think that Ireland have been terrific. Scotland and Afghanistan have been very good, and even UAE have played quite good cricket. It's sort of sad to me that in a time when we're trying to expand the world game and take it to away from the traditional 8 or 10 countries to other countries, that the ICC would be planning to cut back the tournament next time to only 10 teams. You'd think they'd be going the other way, but I don't understand the thinking behind that at all. It's not like these minnows haven't put up decent performances and had games that have pleased the crowds.
Is that a money-making thing to maybe shorten the tournament and get on with IPL or some other sort of mini spinner?
But you can always shorten the tournament. You could have 20 teams, couldn't you, and have several pools and just have three pool games in a semi and a final. You don't have to stretch the tournament out, but I think more teams should be involved in it, not fewer teams.
And we're seeing the same things that the small teams, so with due respect, in the Rugby World Cup complain of. We had Afghanistan going from Dunedin to Perth to Napier, which is absurd.
That was a disgrace, and it's happening all the way through. And also the time between games for the minnow teams is either ridiculously long, sometimes nearly 2 weeks, or 3 or 4 days. It's unfair, and exactly what happens with the Rugby World Cup, and it shouldn't happen. If you're in the tournament, you should be treated equally, and they're not. Another poor performance by the ICC on that one.
Not something that the Soccer World Cup is guilty of. I think everyone seems to be pretty much on a par there.
Totally. You get into the Soccer World Cup, into the finals, and you start even. I mean, the best teams may come through, but you all start even with a good chance, and that hasn't been the case here, and it's a disgrace. And as you say, the comparable example is the Rugby World Cup, which is equally bad. Teams like Tonga get treated appallingly, but New Zealand, the Rolls-Royce teams, whatever they want.
I suppose you look at the future of these teams too. Afghanistan have proved that they're quite useful to play. We need to play them outside of World Cup too at some stage, because otherwise how are they going to keep up the standard?
Yes, well, I hear that there's a proposed tour of Afghanistan. Tom, will you be accompanying the team? It's difficult though, isn't it?
I might be available.
Yeah, no, but it is difficult, isn't it? I mean, do we want to go to UAE to play Afghanistan sort of thing? It's a difficult proposition. If it was a country you could tour, that would be great. On the other hand, I couldn't see New Zealand sending a team to tour Ireland or Scotland.
No, and they haven't got the resources to tour us, have they?
No.
And that's where the trick is.
No, that's true. If you could get them out here, I think that you could fashion a tour which would be interesting enough for people. You wouldn't always put your top 11 players on the field, but you would have a President's 11 and maybe Canterbury or Wellington or Auckland or something, and you would have enough good matches to have a tour if you could get them out here.